Right, we're on part 29 of the Forster Andrews 1865 organ installation, and on the table here, apart from the kettle, is the right hand pedal Bourdon chest. So your first two notes at that's the front, whoops, wrong way. So those first two at the front will point to this piece of doweling is where the bottom two notes on this side of the great open diapason live. So it's simply conveyed from the soundboard to here. There's no works, it's just a convenient place to put those two pipes which are too big to go on the front. So your other notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, there must be 13 on the other chest because this organ was originally 25 note pedal board. They sit on this pneumatic operated chest, and I've never seen anything like this, but then I've not seen pneumatics as early as this. So yesterday, before I finished in here, this is why this doweling is in my hand. I was filling in these holes. There's 4 holes there which looked a bit too big for my liking. So we filled them in with timber, glued in, and then when we start screwing other things to it, well, they're going into new wood, aren't they? So we're not having problems with screw stripping. And the other chest for the other side is leaning against the wall there, and I took the opportunity to fill some of those holes in as well. So the thing to do today is we're going to be painting this back in black. We'll clean all the crud off it first. And I'm going to show you these pneumatics. And I'm surprised that they look to be in fine condition, because while these have been in store, this chest has definitely had mice in it. The other one not so. So this battery's about to go flat. So I've got the bottom off. The bottom being this part. This has the pneumatic motors on it. And I've tested each one of these with the vacuum cleaner just to check there's no holes. And it's absolutely fine. I've got no pressure loss whatsoever. And I'm surprised because it's definitely had mice in it and we've had to clear up that kind of mess. Obviously this is all being cleaned. So you've got these pallets just like you would have on a normal soundboard, and I've not seen an arrangement like this. So there must be a labyrinth of channels inside there which convey the air from these pallets down to the pipes which you want. But there's 2 real big cock-ups here which we've got to do something about. I was expecting to have to repallet this, but it's not a problem. But this is a problem. You've got a screw hole here and it's broken out and it's no longer flat. It might be difficult to see on a camera, but if I move this screwdriver across, there's another one there. So we're going to have to sand that, fill in that screw hole, and make absolutely sure that that screw hole is lower down in the future. So that's the first problem. There are 3 broken springs in here. They're the original brass springs, and I've simply used brass springs that we took off the soundboard. We replaced all the soundboard springs with steel ones, brand new. This is really easy to get to. The faceboard is at the front of the organ, right behind an access panel, so if a spring broke, we could change it. But I'm not expecting a spring to break, despite these being 1865, and I'll tell you for why. With it being pneumatic, the machine is doing the work. On the tracker action organ, the organist is doing the work. The organist is pressing those notes, and it's heavy action, and you're doing trills and fast moving things. On the pedal section, you're not normally playing as quickly. And every single time you press a note, the machinery is doing the operation of these pallets. So it's a bit like having power steering on a car, isn't it? And it's going to be, or an automatic gearbox on the car. The automatic gearbox is going to protect the engine, and you'll be less likely to thrash it as much as you would with a manual. So you can see this has had different screw positions, and we've got to do something about these different screw positions when we put this faceboard back together. I think we're going to fill all these in again with timber, probably fill in the faceboard as well and re-drill the whole thing for smaller screws, because they're obviously too wide and they're breaking it out. And when we've done that, we're going to take it apart. When we put that faceboard back on, we're going to take it apart and make sure that we haven't got any cracking like that, because that is a wind leak. So on a pipe as big as these, it's not going to whimper, but nevertheless, it's a wind leak, and it's a wind leak we could do without. So I'm going to look into this. I have no reason to repallet it, but I'll prop the pallets open, we'll get some sanding in there, and we'll take it from there. So if we fast forward about 90 minutes, I've actually cleaned the sides and the bottom with hot water. Again, this is whitewash, which they put colour in. I don't think it's distemper, I think it's whitewash. And it comes off when you lean on it, so that really is indicative of whitewash. Probably got high lead content as well. So what I've done is to sand the damage there and fill all these holes with wood, and the one under there. That one under the vice clamp is the only thing we've got with 4.5-inch jaws. Believe it or not, I haven't got any G clamps or G cramps. For some reason it's that size. Anyway, that's clamps. We'll look at that tomorrow. And I've put the wedge of wood back in with PVA adhesive rather than the animal glue which we usually use. That was breaking through the side. And I say what we're going to do, we're going to re-drill the faceboard, and we'll do it with a 3mm or 1/8 of an inch bit, so I can see where the screws are going before going in with the number 12 screws. So what we need to do now is, there isn't really a crack there. No, there's no crack there, but there is there, and there is there. And that, if you've got this full of compress there, which you have, the air can get into these cracks, and although it's not going to cause the notes to whimper because they're so big, it is a loss of wind. So what you do with cracks is we've got heel ball, which is a cobbler's wax. This one I think is astral wax, and isn't the Yankee wax as well. And what traditionally you do is this melts with a candle flame. And so you're going to get this on such an angle that you can get the candle flame and get it to drip in, then you sand it over, and that infills it. What we do normally is to use a cordless soldering iron, but the only cordless soldering iron we've got is high quality, and I don't want to have to buy another bit when it's only 3 bits of cracking to deal with. So I haven't got any candles here. I'm going to try and see if we can use the blow lamp. Don't try this at home. I'll just see if I can drip some on a piece of glass paper first, because this is really not the way to do it. Yeah. Right, so what we need to do is to make sure that pallet's open, and we're going to use, it's gone out, we're going to use a rack pillar. I'm not over, you've got to be careful not to force these, and they're going to come off at the heel. So I want to splodger that there, which is going to get its way into the crack, and then we sand that out later. So I say this is not the way to do it. I think I'm setting fire to the thing rather than doing the job. trying to get that down there. Just give it one more go. Well, that's certainly filled the crack, but we're going to have to do a bit more sanding than I would have liked. So we'll borrow another rack pillar. Might be a bit easier on this one. Straight in. I'll do the third one when I can take the clamp out. So not the way to do it, but it's the correct, and the result will be fine. So that now fills the gap. So much for wanting to put this in today, you know, because I've now got to wait 24 hours for the glue to dry. What we are going to do, what's just arrived in the post, is some number 15 screws. So let's see whether this cures a problem. The Great wind trunk, the screws I put in it I think were number 12s, and they weren't big enough, because unless you note the gauge of every screw you take out of an organ, if you've got all the time in the world, you could say that screw came out there and it was a 1" 8, that screw there was a 2.5" number 14. You could do that, that'd be great. But there isn't time, you're having to take these organs out in a day. This one was 2 days. So when I came to look at screws of the kind of size I wanted, I've got a number 12, a number 14 and a number 15. I think there's a number 16 as well. Now, did I say that right? Number 12, number 14, number 16. What I wanted was 15. Well, I've never even seen gauge 15 screws. So anyway, I went on eBay, and for an arm and a leg, somebody has sent me, I think it was about 12 quid for 6 screws. But if they've got them and I haven't, so these have just arrived. And I'll tell you what we're going to do before I show you where the mice have been into this Bourdon chest. I can't even open this up. What's wrong with my fingers? And these are new old stock. And he says they're 15 gauge, so I've every doubt they came out of the right box. But just before we go and put those in, let's move the camcorder across and I'll show you that damage. So where you've got the heels of the pallets, you've got the heel guard. I don't like the way they've nailed it in. We would always screw that in, but it's not going to get changed. You can see mice have been in through the hole where the wind trunk goes, and they've eaten away. They love the glue, you know. They've eaten away the back of the tails of the pallets, and they've also eaten away just there. But in actual fact, it doesn't matter. So I'm not going to repallet it because of a bit of that damage. These are just, once the pallet guard's in, once these are glued down, it really doesn't matter. So perhaps if it was a customer's organ, I'd give them the option. But you know, you're looking at a good 100 quid to repallet it. So we will keep that as it is. It won't matter. It's just a matter of cleaning the mouse poo out, which we did. Right, we'll take the camcorder over to the other side of the organ and we'll put these in. So when I put this trunk in, I realised that the screws weren't the right screws. So it's something which needed addressing before we blocked it in with the base pedal chest. This is the base end, and we're working on the treble end chest. So having taken the screws out and having ordered and now got these number 15s, 2¼ inch number 15s, hopefully these will be the right screws. So as ever, the screws are greased. And hopefully these will tighten up. So I've not been able to put the wind on until these came, otherwise it would have certainly come out quicker than it would go in. So just make that snug, and we'll tighten them up properly and see whether I've cured the problem. This is already going to be tighter than what it has been. I'll just put the two which are probably off camera in. So never be tempted to tighten these fully on anything you're working on. If you've got things which are long, you start in the centre and move outwards, and then when you've got them snug, you tighten them properly. I'm going to start with the bottom one. Right, I'll put the wind on if there isn't a leak at the other end where I've been doing the Bourdon control valve. Still a little tiny bit around the edges, so I'll get some leather around there. There was leather around before, and that would be normal practice, but I wanted the screws to be properly tightened. So that's another job done. We will be able to set the rise of the bellows, because at the moment they're not set very high, because if you remember at the beginning we had the scaffold, and I didn't want the scaffold to be pressing down on the bellows. But that's looking okay. Let's take the camera around the other side and see how that control valve is. Well, 24 hours later, the next day, I've had it on the other way on yesterday evening, after the underside had dried and painted the top. So now I'm going to turn it over and we'll deal with the pallets and the front. So it's time to take the clamp off, and hopefully we've got a smooth finish. You know what we have? So I just need to trim these off and just sand this. So do that. Right, so we've sanded all this, and we've sanded where the heel ball has been put in. And this one at this end, we filled this with glue rather than the heel ball. So now we've got a lot less wind leakage than it's had for decades. So the next thing to do, if we were repalleting this, then we would automatically we would change these wires, which are the steady pins for the pallet so they don't go sideways. We would change those for phosphor bronze ones because they're iron and there's a bit of corrosion on them. But seeing as we're not changing the pallets, we're going to put some grease on them. So I've just put a bit of ordinary car mineral grease between my fingers. I'm just going to get that onto those steady pins. That's 2 done. I'm just wanting this at the bottom, and then I'll do the tops from the top. We've got the background music a bit high in here. I can hear the Christmas stuff that's still running. So from the top end, I can just put some on my fingers and just rub it up and down. What we don't want is any grease on the leather of the pallets. So you're going to lift them like I just did. You've got to be very, very careful. That end one isn't easy. There, that's another process done. So I'll find a cloth to wipe my fingers on. And the next job is to put the pneumatic deck back. And whilst I've got this way on, did I clean that? I don't think I did. I ran the vacuum over. Yeah, we definitely vacuumed it. I'm really surprised I didn't have to change these. I'm just checking there's bushings in place, and actually 1 or 2 have lost the bushings, so we'll do that. Now I'm not going to, I don't think I've got to glue them in on these. It's just a matter of putting a lozenge of baize cloth in there, and that's what we'll do. Some of them are looking a bit ropey. What you don't want is lost movement, and you don't want the action plonking. Well, I don't know, it is there. It's just that one. Just that one that's lost its bushing. Oh well. So we'll twist the wire to remove it. Whilst I've got this out, I should be using some bigger pliers for this. May as well straighten up that bit. You know what? I'm gonna change all these for phosphor bronze. Yeah, because this wire. Oh, I don't know. They are phosphor bronze. They are phosphor bronze already. Yeah, that's fine. I'm thinking aloud. Right, I'll fix that and I'll put some lubrication on these. So what I've done there is to put a lozenge through of cloth. This is the blue cloth which we happen to have kicking around, which came from an amusement hall when we were recovering billiard tables. What we do is normally use Bostik number 2 adhesive, but we're using this one which Mr. Chippy suggested we tried from Aldi or Lidl because it's cheap. I don't even need to glue this because we're putting this in straight away and it's going to get held together by that method. that's, yeah, that goes in there, hopefully. To be honest, it needs opening up a bit more because we've now got the thickness of the cloth. So there you go, that's done that method. The alternative method is how you've seen us do the other bushings, putting leather through and using the bushing pliers. There just isn't the clearance. These would have to be taken out, and we'd have to probably put new eyes in. So I've done that method, which is just as satisfactory, but different. So they're all lubricated. Now it's a matter of putting it upside down and coupling those wires onto the pallets. So pause the video. Right, they're all in, and you can see they will now operate from the motors. So we'll now screw this down. For some reason, I've had to go looking in the screw tin for 2 screws. Now I don't remember there being any short, so I don't know why we've got 2 missing. I think they're number 12, so not anything scary, and I've overhauled all the screws, so we've lightly filed the heads. So 20 hours of work later, we've got the pedal chest in on the right hand, or what's known as the C-sharp side. So this is what I've done. So you may just be able to see the faceboard there. Those bits of doweling with insulating tape shoved on them are to stop the notes from, because it's pneumatically operated, to stop the notes coming on their own when we put the wind on. So removing one of those pegs and the note will play. It's exhaust pneumatic action. So I've put the stay in this afternoon. So if we can just see up there towards the right, and I've put the first organ pipe in for the pedal properly, because there's another one lurking up there, but it's only lurking up there, and that is F. So it's a C sharp side, so it's every other note. So it's C sharp, D sharp, F, G, A, B for 2 octaves, because it was a 2 octave pedal board originally. So behind me, one of the pipes I've just been painting, or I'm continuing to paint, and this is an open diapason for the grate. The bottom 4 notes are wooden pipes inside the organ, and they just sit on the pedal chest, but they're connected by conveyancers, which I'll show you. So conveyancers go in the soundboard there, and they come down, that one between the slides, they go into that grooved piece of timber, and those 2 pipes sit there out of the way, because the height of the front pipes, at the time this was built for a balcony in 1865, they wouldn't have fitted to the 2 inside. And this is one of the things which the history books say about this organ. You can't tell when you go from these 4 wooden internal pipes to this side, to the other, onto the front pipes, which are all speaking pipes on this organ. The bottom 6 are going to have to go into leads for the pipe makers to look at. There's some dents and that. So this is the chest, as you remember, funny shape, and that is the first pipe we've fitted, and onto its stay up there. And this one is the pipe we haven't fitted, but have just shoved in the hole, and that's the top note on this side. To get this chest in, I had to take the these final front two lever arms out. So let's have a look underneath if I can. I don't know how we're going to do that with this tripod. So that control valve, you can no longer see it because there's a stay there in the way. Oh, you can't see that either because it's too dark. Okay, so the control valve, which you know goes down there. So we've got the two trunks, the one going in from the bellows into the bottom trunk that goes under the bellows, so the wind gets to the base end of the pedal board on chest, and this angled trunk goes up into this right hand or C sharp side pedal board on chest. On top of that, we've overhauled, temporarily shoved up there on top of the Great upper board nearest the passage board. You'll see we've got the extra auxiliary chest with 5 notes. So I've had that apart, repainted it, dealt with the screws, checked all the pneumatics, everything's working. That's 1920. It's been added onto this organ to expand it from 25 note pedals to 30 note pedals. Now I was going to fit that, and it goes there in that space. That and that are 2 of the screw holes. It's winded, in other words the conveyance which supplies the wind from this chest. There's a hole underneath which I've kind of bunged up with a rag at the moment. I cannot find the conveyance or the wind trunk. I've got 2 likely culprits and neither of them appear to fit, so we'll have a look into that. If we've lost it, well, I'll have to put a flexible one in, but we'll have a look further. So I think we'll power it up. Right, so that's the wind on, so we'll now pull out the stop. Bear in mind there'll be some wind leaks on here. There's a blooming great massive one somewhere. What's happened there? Right, I've taken the rag out for the hole for the little 5 note chest, so let's try again. Okay, so now activated that. So what I'm now going to do, we'll see if we can find either of those 2 notes. This is going to be a laugh. So I'll take these pegs out. Oh, well that was easy. So that's our first note. And let's see if that's the top note. No, that's the 4th one down. Is it that one? Nope, it's not that one. What about that one? It's that one. The action won't do that, you know, when it's finished. That was the action, not the note. Right, so those pneumatics, as you can see, are working. And we've got 2 pipes out of 30 playing. So I've not touched the pedal board, we've not touched the touch box. The touch box is what the pedal board actuates to make the notes play. So it's got valves in it. Which are obviously not an exhaust pneumatic action, are going to release the pressure from the pneumatic action, the equivalent to me taking those pegs out. Now we've got some of the original composition lead tubing, and I think on this chest we'll probably use the combo tubing to there's a junction block just down there, and I think we'll do the same on the other side. But the rest of it we'll be using plastic tubing, which will be not that dreadful red stuff, but some which we use for the pneumatic industry, which I just do not like working with that lead tubing. It's absolutely awful, and it does get damaged, whatever people say. Right, let's just go over to the. We'll finish part 29. Oh yes, we've got some more swell shutters opening. Don't know whether that's in shot. And what I'll just try and do is to open and close the swell pedal and hold some notes. So I think we've got 4 shutters working out of 6. So there you go, the swell box. Will be a little bit more effective than that, but that's very nice when I get all the pins bent and inserted. And finally we'll just show you what I've done down there. So that's where the trunk goes under the bellows, that with the blue cloth on it. So you've got the trunk, the blue cloth, a piece of timber and 2 cordless drills to weigh down that piece of timber, because obviously when I pull that Bourdon stop out, the wind flows into that trunk and out through that rectangular hole. So it just temporarily blocked off. We'll just finish that right hand side, and it'll be a matter of getting the panels in and spraying the front pipes for that section, and then we'll worry about this side. So all I've got to do is find where have I put the trunk. So that's what I thought it was, but it doesn't fit. So thank you for watching part 29 of the Forster Andrews 1865 organ restoration and installation here at Tango Towers Chapel.